But no, let me ask you something about going back to the Gramsci thing, because I've been really interested in this myself as well. And, you know, I've often encountered this Gramsci quote when deployed by people on the left in quite a hopeful way, and to say, look, this is our time, the old is dying, the new hasn't. And as you say, there's a very interesting difference between has not yet been born and cannot be born, which I thought was a really interesting point to raise. But so on the one hand, I see this deployed in sort of hopeful, positive terms on the left, and that kind of almost goes back for me to the different readings of Karl Marx in Communist Manifesto, because, you know, when he there talks about the tearing down of the family, of religion, etc., he's often misread as being like celebrating this from the perspective of like, okay, great, the old is gone, now it's our time. But you would take a different approach to Marx, I think, and you've taken a different approach to Gramsci there. So, yeah, can you say something about this different inflection from where you often see these thinkers deployed on the left, let's say?
Yeah, on the left, because one perhaps needs to point out that there is a huge usage now of the Gramsci on the right, appropriation of the Gramsci by the right, increase in his criticism of the state. You know, it's completely obviously torn out of the context, but many on the even far right now are flagging Gramsci as the author in his criticism of certain whatever social institutions, let's say. But this is another story. For me, what is interesting is precisely not to immediately take this as this in-betweenness as something that already carries in itself the promise of the future, let's say, but as something that perhaps does not guarantee or lead anywhere necessarily. So that it's not in this sense that whether not only the future is not decided yet, but perhaps even one could say it's not even decided yet if there is going to be any future in the kind of stronger sense of the term. And then, to look at these monsters or morbid symptoms, not simply as something, you know, that you could say, okay, now we have to be patient, times are changing, so once we get somewhere else, all these will disappear and will just be thought of as something in the past, which was necessarily part of this in-betweenness. So I think it's an interesting point to raise, or to even read Gramsci here more to the letter, when he says that this is precisely, it's the symptom of the thing that the future cannot be born, not simply that it is being born. So as long as it cannot be born, we are stuck with this monster, and this can go on for a very long time. So with Marx, for Marx, even capitalism had this kind of ambiguity about itself, that capitalism itself was a progressive force in the sense that it enabled the society to get rid of all kinds of reified social relations and so on, and liquefy everything in this kind of movement. And so there is something to be said also about how, you know, all kinds of rights, human rights, feminism and so on, are not completely in contradiction with capitalism at some point. But then at some point, obviously, another contradictions start to appear and become more prominent, where it actually works against this.